Have you ever just kind of looked around at your life and wondered, where did all the fun go? If being an adult these days feels a little, well, beige, a little too serious, and just plain exhausting, I promise you, you are not alone. So today we're going to figure out how to bring all that color back.
This quote from the writer Barry Rogers, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It really feels like we've all become these tired, polite, carefully filtered versions of ourselves. We've lost that wild, chaotic, laugh until you can't breathe kind of energy. So that's what we're digging into today. Not just why that is, but more importantly, how we can turn that volume way, way back up.
Okay, let's get into it. Here's what we're looking at today. We're going to start by unpacking this modern fun deficit. Then we'll get into why fun is basically a biological necessity, not a luxury. After that, we'll build a toolkit with some really practical tips, tackle that big one, the fear of judgment, and finally, we're going to bust the myth that you can ever be too old for this stuff. So, what exactly is this modern fun deficit? Well, you know the feeling. We're all physically here, but so many of us are just vaguely present. It's like our real personalities, our real emotions are switched to airplane mode. Our interactions feel a little too polished, and our conversations can sometimes feel like we're just recycling things we saw on Instagram.
And really, the heart of the problem is this trade-off we've made. We're so weighed down by the pressure to perform, so hyper-aware of how other people see us, that we've swapped our real, quirky, messy selves for this perfect, curated persona. And you know what? It's exhausting. Fun starts to feel like just another thing on the to-do list. And when you're already burned out, that's the last thing you want to deal with.
But here is the absolute most important takeaway. Fun is not optional. It's not just for kids. It's not just for weekends. It is a fundamental human need. Like it's hardwired into our biology. So a lack of fun in your life isn't just making you bored. It's actively messing with your physical and mental health. And to really get what we're aiming for, we got to define it. We're not talking about just mindlessly scrolling on your phone. The author Catherine Price, she defines true fun as this magical cocktail of three key ingredients. You've got playfulness, that's where you let go of trying to be perfect. Then there's connection, that feeling of a shared experience with other people. And finally, flow, that incredible state where you're so into what you're doing that time just disappears.
Now, what's so wild about this slide is how it proves fun isn't just some fluffy concept. It's a biological powerhouse. The science on this is crystal clear. Laughter literally lowers your stress hormones, like cortisol. The National Cancer Institute has found it can actually strengthen your immune system by boosting your T cells. And research from psychiatrist Dr. Judith Joseph shows that a lack of these small daily moments of joy is a direct path to burnout, to that numb feeling. So a fun deficit isn't just a symptom of being exhausted, it's one of the causes.
Okay, so we get the problem. We get what's at stake. But how do we actually do it, right? How in the world do we fit fun into a life that already feels completely jam-packed? Well, let's get practical. We're going to build a simple toolkit with 4 habits you can start using like today. So our 4 core strategies are wear the pink glasses, just say yes, be bad at it, and drive the fun bus. I know, they might sound a little silly, but honestly, that's kind of the whole point. Let's break down how each one of these actually works. First up, wear the pink glasses. This is all about injecting one tiny, fun change into a routine you already have. You don't need some huge, elaborate plan. It can be as simple as wearing the brightest, funkiest socks you own under your serious work clothes, or blasting your favorite cheesy music while you do the dishes. It's just a tiny shift that starts to train your brain to find joy in the mundane. Next up, and this one's a big one, just say yes. Seriously, think about how often your default answer to a new invitation is an automatic no, just because you're tired or a little anxious. Real, genuine fun needs an opportunity to happen. So saying yes to that random dance class, or that coffee with a coworker, or even that slightly cringy paint and sip night, that's the first step to making space for connection and that feeling of flow. And hey, if you need a little mental trick to get you there, just use this mantra. Do it for the plot. Think of yourself as the main character in a movie. They would totally say yes, right? Because even if the experience ends up being a total disaster, you're guaranteed to walk away with a fantastic story. The fun isn't always in the event itself. Sometimes it's in telling the hilarious story about it later. Oh man, this one is so important in our hyper-curated world. Social media has made us terrified of looking stupid. But being a total beginner at something, whether it's learning guitar or trying pickleball or belting out karaoke, is so incredibly liberating. When you give yourself permission to be bad at it, you take away all the pressure to be perfect. And that's the very definition of playfulness.
And this quote just perfectly sums it up. The fun is in the trying, not in the winning. When you're bad at something, every attempt isn't some high stakes moment where you're being judged. Nope, it's just a chance to laugh at yourself and have a good time with absolutely zero pressure. That is pure play. And our final tool in the kit, drive the fun bus. This means you gotta stop waiting around for someone else to throw the party, or crack the first joke, or be the first one on the dance floor. Take responsibility for your own fun. Be the person who suggests the game night, who brings the killer playlist, who starts the sing-along in the car. You would be amazed at how many other people are just waiting for someone else to go first. Okay, so we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Because the single biggest reason you might not do any of these things is the fear of being judged. That fear of being seen as cringy or weird or maybe just too much. That fear is the #1 enemy of fun. So it really comes down to a choice. Which side of this chart do you want to live on? Because here's the honest truth. Miserable people are going to judge you for having fun anyway, so you might as well have the fun. Let them be grumpy over there. You'll be busy creating a life that feels energized and alive, not one that's stuck in grayscale. Now, seriously, think about it. And Halloween doesn't count. So there's this great story about a group that went to a 1970s themed golf tournament. They were all told to dress up, but as you can probably guess, most people didn't. They were too afraid of looking silly. But the small group that did show up in costume, and we're talking full-on plastic go-go boots, a sequined tuxedo jacket, and an Evel Knievel jumpsuit on a golf course, they had so much more fun. Why? Because when you're already dressed that ridiculously, you can't take anything else too seriously. They basically short-circuited their own fear of judgment, and in doing so, they gave everyone else permission to be a little more playful too. And that brings us to the last big mental wall we've got to tear down. That super common excuse that I'm just too old for that. It's like at some point we decide that as adults, play is no longer for us. Our houses turn beige, our clothes get grayer, and we completely forget how to just be silly. This story is just the best. For her 30th birthday, a producer named Yuna rented out a whole gymnastics gym so she and her friends could learn how to do a backflip. And guess what? Most of them were terrible at it. They face planted, they looked absolutely ridiculous, and they had the time of their lives because it was just pure, unfiltered play. And this detail, this just says it all. Apparently, the gym had never hosted an adult birthday party before, so the liability waivers they all had to sign still said child's name. It is such a hilarious reminder of how we wrongly trap fun and play in the category of childhood, when it's something we desperately need at every single age. So let's end with this. You are never, ever going to be younger than you are in this very moment. The best day to start having more fun was yesterday. The second best day is today. So what is one small, fun, maybe even slightly silly thing you are going to say yes to this week?